All right, it's time to close the machines. The location manager has announced that the polls are closed. You're going to take all of the blue PBs and return them to the VOTR, and you're going to take out the yellow PB, the same one you used to open in the morning. We're going to assume for this exercise that we're a smaller location. We don't have multiple yellow PBs. We only have the one. We're going to start closing our machines in the same sequence that we opened them. We'd say the leftmost machine, but whichever machine that was, you want to close them in the same sequence that you opened them. We're going to insert it in that machine, and after a few seconds, it's going to come up and give you a message. It's going to give you an option. Do you want to close the polls or or exit this menu? If for some reason it was after 7:30 and you needed to vote someone, if you exit that menu, it will take you back to the screen that you saw when you inserted the blue PEB. But we don't want to do that. It's after 7:30. We have no more voters. We're going to touch close the polls. Now what's happening now, and we're going to have several seconds or a couple of minutes really for this process to take place, is the machine is closing, but it's also recording all of the vote information on that PEB. So what's going to happen when that machine asks us to remove the PEB? Let's say there were 30 votes on that first machine. I pull it out. Those 30 votes are now on there. Let's say we have 6 machines. I put it in the second machine. When I pull it out, there were 20 votes there. Now I've got 50 votes. Third machine, fourth machine. Finally, when I pull it out of the last machine, I have all of my votes on that one yellow PEB. So that's what this process is about. So right now we're just waiting while that takes place. Like I say, it takes a little bit. When it's finally done, you pull it out, you move to the next machine, and so on and so on. And finally, when you pull it out, all of our machines have been closed. Okay, but we don't have a results tape. We're going to return to printing the results tape in just a second, because I also want to talk about some other paperwork we have to do. In the morning, you did certificate number 1. In the evening, you're going to do certificate number 2. You can copy the machine numbers from certificate number 1. Make sure you don't copy those blue seals. It should be a machine number that starts with a V. You're also going to record any ADA votes that you had. If there are any ADA voters who came in, the blue envelope voters, that should have been, you should have a tick mark next to the appropriate machine in case the Board of Elections needs to do research on that particular voter. The next column, I believe, since I don't have a certificate 2 here, I believe it's the blue seal number for the RTEL printer. We don't re-record the one for the flashcards because that one will never change. However, in the event that we should run out of paper, we may have to change the paper and replace the blue seal. We don't ask you to remember if that happened. We don't ask you to remember which machine it happened on. We ask you to re-record every blue seal, even if they're the same. The next 2 columns are going to ask you for your public and protective counts. Those display on the screen. We don't want you to get them from the screen. We want you to wait until the results tape is printed, and you're going to record those from there. It's going to be right in the very top. You're going to have the public and protective counts for each of the machines. Record those onto certificate 2. The last column is going to be the seal number that you use to seal that machine when you're all finished. Okay? As you're going along, by the way, you're going to have these machines, what you're waiting for, by the way, when you're moving, you'll see 2 yellow lights, it'll beep. That's when you pull it out and move to the next machine. A few seconds later, that last machine is going to start beeping at you. It's going to say it's all done. At that point, you touch the screen will go blank, and the only thing that's left to do is pull the flash card, close the door, seal it up, break it down, and roll it back up on your carts. Don't do it. Don't do it until you have 2 copies of that report printed from on your results tape. Okay, so let's move back along now we're on the last machine. We've just removed the PEB. We now have all of our votes on that yellow PEB. I don't have a results tape. What I'm going to do is reinsert it. Nobody's going to tell me to reinsert it, but that's the only way I got this machine to do anything all day long. I reinsert it in the last machine, always the last, because that's the only time that I have all of my results on that one PEB is after I pulled it out of that last machine. So I reinsert it. In a few seconds, it's going to ask me if I'm done or if I want to print the results tape. I'm going to say yes, I want to print the results tape. And I'm going to have some time while it's crunching some numbers. We're going to, in order to do this, all day long this machine has been talking to the RTEL printer using a cable on the back of the machine. What we're going to do now is we're going to take our separate printer, our results tape printer, and we're going to connect that to the machine. We have to plug it in, we have to disconnect that cable from the machine that was talking to the RTEL printer and plug it into this printer instead. We have to turn the printer on and so on. Don't do any of that until you see a particular screen. We call it the red light screen or the Christmas tree screen. It'll have several steps, and there'll be a red, green, and yellow lights on it. And we want to wait until we do anything with that before we get to that screen, because if you do it in advance, you're going to confuse the machine. And you're going to make phone calls down to the Board of Elections, and those are going to be unnecessary. So please just wait until you see that screen. Now you can plug your printer in. Now you can turn it on, or excuse me, first you connect it, then you're going to turn it on. And you're going to do this. All these steps that I've just mentioned are right there on the screen, on that Christmas tree screen. So just follow them, 1, 2, 3, 4, except one's missing. That's the third step. It's really 2A. And that's the step that asks you to advance the paper. If you don't advance the paper, you have the potential for a paper jam. And you don't want a paper jam at 7:30, 8 o'clock on Election Day. So follow those steps, but also remember to advance the paper before you hit the print button. So when everything else is done, you've advanced the paper, hit the print button. Everybody's going to panic for about 6 or 7 seconds because they want to go home and nothing's happening. You can hammer the print button all day long. It doesn't hurt a thing. But when the printer's ready, it's going to start printing. Now it's going to print 2 copies of that results tape. In training today, it's only going to print 1, but on Election Day, it will print 2. The first copy is going to be taped to the front door or window of the polling location so that voters, the public, can come up and see what the election results were. The second copy is going to go into your VOTR. Okay? There are signature lines for each of those reports. Who signs them? Everybody who worked on that machine. All of your machine judges and your location manager are going to sign those. What happens again, one was put on the wall. The second copy was put into the VOTR. Once you're all done, if you're done printing, you disconnect the printer, turn it off, put it back in the cake box. You also are going to return the yellow PEB to the VOTR. And now, once you get that second copy of the report, you're going to turn to your fellow workers and say, okay, now we can start pulling those flashcards, breaking the machines down, and putting them away. Now let's talk about the flashcards for a second. There's going to be a page in your VOTR that's like a little coin collector slot, and those flashcards go in there. It's one of the most important things we get back to the Board of Elections on election night is the flashcards. So in order to make sure we don't forget any, someone came up with a brilliant idea with these. Let's say we have 8 machines. This coin collector sheet has 20 slots on it. 20 minus 8 is 12. What they will do is they'll fill 12 of those slots with a piece of paper that says there's no flashcard that goes here. So that when we finished and we put all 8 flashcards in there, every slot will be full. So when you're putting them in, make sure every slot is full. If there's an empty slot, something's wrong, let your location manager know what's going on and let's track it down. You want to make sure you have all of those flashcards in there before you start breaking down your machines and sealing them. And again, once we start sealing them, now we've got that blue seal that we can record in the last column of Certificate 2. So now what's in our VOTR? We've got 1 copy of the report. We've got all of our PEBs, both yellow and blue, and we've got all of our flashcard. You zip that up, you give that to the location manager. He's ready to take that back to the location. And also what we're going to do now is we are going to transfer those numbers from that results tape. I said right at the top, you're going to see your public and protective counts for each machine. You're going to transcribe those over to Certificate 2. You're also going to turn to your Election Day balancing sheet. Now, one of the things that happened as soon as you closed, someone was taking those ATV envelopes, pulling them off the back of the machines, reaching in, pulling out the ATV slips and counting them and recording those on our balance sheet. You also have captured your counts from your roster judges. Now what we're going to do is take these public and protective counts, enter them as well, do all the math that's described on the balance sheet, and make sure that we've got everything that we needed, that our counts balance. Let's see if I left anything off. I don't believe I did. But again, my apologies for not being there. I would love to. I'm sure it's much more enjoyable there than what I have to put up with here. So in any case, if this is acceptable to get me certified, I will do another one for the VLM. Thanks. Bye.